So we've got to talk about the trade deal between the US and the UK. Um, I was talking earlier on about how humiliating and shameful it was to see Keir Starmer give that kind of really grovelling sort of phone call to Trump in the Oval Office, where they're trying to show off how clever they are, how successful they are at creating this deal, which is obviously, anything to do with Trump. If you scratch the surface, there's nothing there. So the way in which Keir Starmer is trying to maneuver or navigate this is so ill-judged that that's being kind to say that it's ill-judged. I mean, this is a complete dereliction of responsibility. This is somebody who, Keir Starmer was previously the Director of Public Prosecutions in the UK. This was a top job. This involves having a level of integrity and working for the public interest. He, prior to that, was a human rights lawyer. And, the contrast between seeing him responding to Trump in the way that he did, and then this morning I watched this awful video of a woman who was ripped away from her family by ICE in the United States. But her neighbours tried to stop it. It was a group of women. Her neighbours formed a human chain and surrounded her. And to me, that was such a kind of clear visual contrast between what I've seen from somebody who has been put in a position of immense responsibility at a time where integrity is needed more than ever. And he is not able to deliver on it. And the contrast of seeing that and the grovelling, embarrassing facade that was put on in the Oval Office compared to ordinary women fighting to support each other, to literally to save each other. It reminded me of what Michelle Obama said. I don't know if it was in her book or if it was an interview, but she does talk about how, when you are in those halls of power and you look around at the people who are at the table, you'll be shocked at how ill-informed, uneducated, crass, unaware so many of those people can be. There's an expectation that because people hold these positions, that they automatically come with a level of expertise, education, awareness, and it doesn't work like that. I mean, the fact that Trump has been elected is the clearest evidence of all that we can't trust our leaders. That's the bottom line. And for Starmer to take this route of trying to negotiate with a narcissistic psychopath, and I'm not saying that as a derogatory term. I think there is, in my opinion, a genuine basis for a diagnosis of psychopathy and for narcissism, you could say, with Donald Trump, which means that this is somebody who has no empathy. They also have no self-awareness. They have no interest in other people in terms of who they are, how, what they feel. Somebody like that sees other people as a means to an end or an inconvenience. And for Keir Starmer to approach it in a way where he has become a self-elected peace broker, essentially between the EU and the US, which nobody asked for. Nobody asked him to do that. It shows a huge amount of arrogance on his part because it tells us that he is somebody who believes he has more control in a really critical situation than he actually does. And, that to me is a clear sign of arrogance. It's also a sign that he is not working collaboratively with the leaders that he should be looking to Europe. He's trying to play both sides. And it feels so infuriating to watch it, because seeing a British Prime Minister who has been elected on the basis of moving away from elitism and far right wing ideology, he, he's playing directly into that whole movement of populism and far right thinking. And so to see him behave like that compared to ordinary women, ordinary people who are prepared to risk everything to stand up for what's right, I don't see how Keir Starmer can really carry on like this. I think that I don't know how he sleeps at night. When you think about how he is approaching an authoritarian fascist regime with Trump, also with Netanyahu, how he is trying to play both sides by being a friend to Ukraine but being fearful of rocking the boat all the time. It's not strength. It's not what we need, and times are terrifying, and we need somebody who is prepared to stand up for what's right and join forces with the other sensible voices around the table. He's not prepared to do that. And so the reason that I want to talk about it, the reason why I want to emphasize this as being relevant to female empowerment, is because, as I've mentioned before, when it comes to economic or social impact, women are at the front of that. And I think that ICE video of a woman being ripped away from her family is exactly what I'm talking about. So the women who are working hard, frontline, putting in all of the passion, we're the ones who get hit first, and we have elected representatives who are not prepared to put in the same amount of courage, which is like, that's betrayal. That's beyond unacceptable. That's betrayal. We get hit first in terms of finances, social impact, culture, everything. Health, which I've talked about a lot already. So at a time where we're meant to look to our leaders, we can't really do that at the moment. And when we try to voice how we feel about things, or we want to get involved in the public discourse, we are told that we don't understand. The number of times that I've heard the argument that Keir Starmer knows what he's doing. He knows what the plan is, he knows the strategy. He has no clue. He has no clue what he's doing. He thinks he can control Trump, but nobody can. The only way you can deal with a narcissistic psychopath is to remove them or to distance yourself from them. You have to decide what is going to be possible. And the fact that he is not doing that demonstrates to me, A, his poor judgment, and B, his complete lack of courage. So, where do we go from here? I think the message is clear in terms of we really do have to advocate for ourselves and each other. Just like those neighbours did for that poor mother who was ripped away from her family. We have to be vigilant, we have to take care of each other. And for me, there's also the kind of key point of people in the UK saying, it's okay, it's in America. Everything that happens in America shows up here. You just have to look back through history. Everything from politics to popular culture, it comes here. We have New Labour because of Bill Clinton. And interestingly enough, it was Peter Mandelson who was standing behind Donald Trump, urging him to buy a Rolls Royce in the Oval Office. And it just struck me how, Peter Mandelson was at the forefront. He was the architect of New Labour, which brought in Tony Blair. And I'm old enough to remember Tony Blair and George W. Bush praying together at Camp David. And we all know that that led to a coalition which led to war in Iraq. And it was an illegal war that we got dragged into. So it's really interesting how some of the puppet masters are becoming visible in that respect, because it's all the same. It's all the same. But now we've got even more to lose. I think all we can do is to be vigilant, speak up, take care of each other, and just be disruptive, just make a fuss, just say what you think, don't worry about anything else. Because in reality, not speaking or being yourself is going to have much worse health implications for you over time than being silent. And in my view, there are too many people being silent right now, and history will remember who's on the right side of it, because this weekend everyone is celebrating VE Day. That was 80 years ago. I was alive when my grandmother was alive, and she would tell me stories about the Second World War. That generation has died off now, so people seem to forget what that involved, how cataclysmic it was. People thought it was the end of the world. And it was only because ordinary people got together and put in the work and the effort for nothing in return other than the hope of freedom that we have VE Day. Anyway, let's just keep going, keep talking, keep supporting each other, and hold them to account.